Welcome to Lecture 1. Hopefully by now you've read your syllabus and you have some questions possibly for me. I am going to be sending you an email with, again, some announcements which are making reference to your participation in this class. Also, it's important that we stay in touch because you are going to accumulate points along the way for interacting with me with your questions and our attempt at assuring that you're processing the material accordingly. Now, tomorrow, the reading is due. I'm currently doing this the day before, trying to get ahead of the game. And it's covering David Stannard's American Holocaust. It's about a 500-page book. It's a wonderful book. So if you like reading, particularly on the subject matter of history, I would recommend for you to get that. I did use that book when I was teaching at Willamette University. Now, in this particular 9 pages, what I want you to pay attention to is you're dealing with two different kinds of people. You have a group of people that have ample space, geography, a diverse geography, and each of those people come and adjust to those geographies. They accommodate themselves in those geographies. They look around in their environment, and through their curiosity, create these spaces that support their people so they can keep growing. Now, there's been occasions where some of these folks have grown, their population has grown so much that it's put too much pressure in their ecology, in their environment. A couple examples in some of the evidence still out has to do with the people who lived in Arizona and the Four Quarters area. These folks are the ones are responsible for the construction of that trading center called the Pueblo Bonito. Now, the theory is, and it's tied to the Mexica story of migrating, the theory is that that region experienced a 75-year drought. Now, California just experienced one for 5 years, starting, I believe, in mid-2005 and finally expire around 2010, 11. But people there, or at least the people that currently live there, the people in charge of government, they were freaking out. And also it caused people to leave the state because if the drought continued, they were running out of water. There was a couple of times in a couple of summers, at least in recent memory, that the water has run out and they've had to control that, where people could only use so much. Some places of the world, water is shut down for a day or two, so you need to save water and use it efficiently. But anyways, so you have all these people across the Americas. For the most part, their environments lend themselves to create stable societies, stable relationships. And so war is not common. If it does happen, it tends to seem to be ritualistic. While we can argue that in Europe, that the environment is put under a lot of pressure because of population and the inability for that population to take care of that environment, or at least not having the know-how. Of course, this particular part of the world has experienced also great oppression by invading groups of people. First, you have the Persian people, the area called the Middle East, which is Iran, Iraq. Those people managed to develop very sophisticated societies who unfortunately turned to invading other places. In this case, they managed to invade some parts of Europe. But as time went by, then each group of people who rose decided that once they they're running out of their own goods that their immediate environment provides. Then they get this idea to like take over other people's territories. So Europe has been experiencing this for at least 2,000 years, where you have people coming in and taking over places, wiping out the local populations or absorbing those local populations. So here you are, two different people, one group of people with ample space who have the know-how, who have developed crops, staple crops, to be able to sustain large groups of people. In this case, the Taino, in this particular 9 pages, they depend on the cassava as their everyday food, just like the Mexican uses the tortilla, or the Peruvian uses the potato, or the European uses wheat as their staple for their daily intake for those calories they need to get out there and work and make a living. Now Europe is in the brink of collapse, and so their only hope is this person who they invested on, at least for that time period of this man, Christopher Columbus, who gets this idea of trying to find access to trade goods, by going west and then running into the Americas and winning the lottery ticket in the process. Now, in my lecture summary, I bring up a little bit on comparing those people, because there's one example that is very popular, particularly within the context of the Chicano Latino experience, is when we talk about the Aztecs, just particularly, which is one ethnic group of many ethnic groups, and they happen to be the most powerful group at the time when the Europeans arrive, that they practiced human sacrifice. And hence, most of us who read mainstream history, we want to say, well, really, each people have their way of these deviant forms of practices and expression. Standard gives us the European religious fanatical groups who sometimes would go into collective hysteria and hunt down people who believe differently than them, even if they share the same religious theology, or persecuting women who would not submit to the status quo. So read carefully my summary of the lecture, and tomorrow I'm gonna be sending an outline, and then I'll be sending the questions for the Sunday. Okay, and I believe I'm gonna be sending you also a video